There's a certain kind of person who cannot simply switch off. Not physically. They can sit in a chair. They can look completely calm from the outside. They can smile at dinner, nod in a meeting, lie in bed in total silence. But inside it never stops. There is always something running. A conversation from 3 days ago they're still editing. A decision from 6 months back they're still second-guessing. A version of tomorrow they're already rehearsing tonight. Most people look at them and think, they're just deep thinkers, intelligent people. And in many ways that's true. But what nobody sees is the cost. Because when your mind never stops, and I mean never, it isn't a superpower. It's exhausting in a way that sleep doesn't fix. It's lonely in a way that company doesn't cure. And it's isolating in a way that's almost impossible to explain to someone whose mind actually goes quiet at night. Today, we're going deep into the psychology of people whose minds never stop, where it actually comes from, what it's quietly doing to them, and what it finally means to live with a mind like this instead of being trapped by it. Where it really comes from. The first question people always ask is, why? Why can't I just turn it off like everyone else seems to? And here's what nobody tells you. This is almost never a thinking problem. It isn't an intelligence issue, and it is definitely not a character flaw. It is a nervous system problem, and it started long before they were aware of it. For some people, this is biological. They were simply born with what researchers call a high reactivity nervous system, a neurological volume dial permanently set higher than everyone else's. The world comes in louder, faster, more intensely, and the brain never fully learns how to power down. But for most people watching this, the story is different, and it goes deeper. Neuroscience calls it acquired hyperarousal, and it almost always begins in childhood. Picture a child growing up in an environment where things were unpredictable, where the mood at home could shift without warning, where love sometimes felt conditional, where conflict was always simmering just beneath the surface, never fully erupting but never fully resolving either. That child could not afford to relax, because relaxing meant missing something, being caught off guard. And being caught off guard meant pain. So their brain did what brains do. It adapted. It built a system. It learned to stay on, to keep scanning, to keep running the calculations that might just allow them to predict what was coming next and protect themselves from it. Nobody taught them to do this. Their nervous system did it automatically, quietly, completely. And by the time they were old enough to notice, it had already become the only way they knew how to exist. Here is the part that breaks my heart every time. The environment that created that restless mind is long gone. But the mind itself doesn't know that. It is still running the same survival software, still scanning for threats that no longer exist, still solving problems that haven't happened yet. They grew up, but their nervous system is still standing watch. Sign number 1. They replay conversations like a film editor who can't finish the cut. For most people, a conversation ends when it ends. They say goodbye, move on, forget about it by dinner. But for someone whose mind never stops, a conversation doesn't end when it ends. It ends when their brain decides it's finished analyzing it. And their brain almost never decides it's finished. They get home from a simple dinner with friends, and instead of feeling the warmth of connection, they feel the replay beginning. Did that comment land wrong? Was there a pause after something they said that felt just slightly too long? Did they talk too much? Not enough? Psychology calls this post-event processing, and research shows it is one of the most draining cognitive patterns a human being can experience. Not because the events being analyzed are necessarily painful, but because the processing never reaches a conclusion. The mental film editor keeps cutting and recutting the same footage, searching for a version they can finally live with. And that version never quite arrives. Sign number 2. They live in multiple timelines at once. Here is something the people closest to them almost never understand. When someone whose mind never stops is sitting across from you, they are not fully there. Part of them is there, the part drinking coffee and asking how you slept. But another part is already at work, rehearsing a conversation they need to have. Another part is 3 weeks from now, preparing for something that may never happen. Another part is 6 months back, still trying to understand how something went wrong. Psychologists call this temporal displacement, the inability to stay anchored in the present because the mind is simultaneously processing the past and simulating the future. And here is what makes it so exhausting. Every single timeline feels urgent. The past demands to be understood. The future demands to be prepared for. And the present, the actual living, breathing moment right in front of them, keeps getting crowded out by both. The result is a particular kind of loneliness that is very hard to explain. They are surrounded by people, and yet always slightly elsewhere, always partly absent from their own life, always watching their experience from a small distance instead of living inside it fully. They don't want to be this way. They would give almost anything to just be here. But the mind keeps running. Sign number 3. Rest feels dangerous. This is the one that surprises people most, and it is the one that causes the most damage. For someone whose mind never stops, rest doesn't feel like relief. It feels like exposure. When the external world goes quiet, when there's no task to complete, no problem to solve, the internal world gets louder. And for someone who has spent years using busyness to manage the noise inside, stillness doesn't feel peaceful. It feels threatening. Psychology calls this idleness aversion. But for people with restless minds, it goes much deeper than simply preferring to stay busy. It is a deeply conditioned belief that sitting still is dangerous. That if they stop thinking, stop planning, stop preparing, something will go wrong that they could have prevented. So they fill the silence with work, with scrolling, with planning things that don't need to be planned yet, with helping everyone else so they don't have to sit inside their own mind. And the cruelest part? They are exhausted, genuinely, deeply exhausted. But they cannot rest, because every time they try, the mind floods in. And the flood feels worse than the exhaustion. So they keep moving, keep thinking, keep running, even when everything in their body is begging them to stop. What actually helps? Here is the truth about a mind that never stops. It cannot be silenced, and trying to silence it is one of the most counterproductive things a person can do. Every app that promises to quiet the mind, every person who says, just stop overthinking, every book that says, just be present, they are all misunderstanding the fundamental nature of what's happening. This mind was built to run. It was built for survival. It is not broken. It is not a malfunction. It is a nervous system that learned, in very real and very understandable circumstances, that stopping was dangerous. You cannot convince it otherwise with willpower. What actually works is not silencing the mind, it's changing its relationship to its own noise. The first shift is from resistance to observation. Instead of fighting the thoughts, instead of demanding they stop, they learn to watch them without climbing inside them. The mind produces a thought. They notice it. They don't follow it. They simply observe it passing through like a car on a street outside a window. The second shift is from simulation to sensation. When the mind is spiraling, the most effective interruption is not another thought. It is a physical sensation. Cold water. Slow, deliberate breaths, longer on the exhale than the inhale. These are neurological interruptions that signal to the brain, below the level of language and thought, that it is safe to slow down. But the third shift is the most important one. It is learning to trust that slowing down will not cost them everything. Because at the deepest level, that is what the restless mind believes. That if it stops running, something terrible will happen that it could have prevented. And the real work, the slow, patient, unglamorous work, is gently showing that nervous system that the threat it is protecting against no longer exists. That the house is safe now. That they are allowed to put down the scanning equipment and simply exist for a while. The mind doesn't go silent, but it softens. The volume that was always set to 10 begins, slowly, in small moments, to drop. And in those moments, they discover something they never expected. That underneath all the noise, underneath all the planning and replaying and preparing, there is a version of them that is completely still. It was always there. They just couldn't hear it over the sound of their own mind trying to keep them safe. If any part of this felt familiar, I want you to know something. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not failing at being a person. You are someone whose mind learned to run because running once kept you safe. And that mind deserves not just understanding from the people around you, it deserves understanding from you. Leave a comment and tell me which sign felt most like you. Someone else reading your words tonight might finally feel a little less alone. I'll see you in the next one, and subscribe to Psychology of You.